Let's begin this routine. It will comprise of 3 exercises. There will be sacral work, so it's in the sacrum. The sacrum is part of the bone here that lays at the very bottom of the spine, and it almost looks like a upside down pyramid. We're going to try to mobilize it. It's rare that we ever use this area of the joints. Usually when you would jump over a fence or go over a bike, that's when it's being used, but we're so used to being sedentary in a very horizontal field, never play around with that area, which is very important to lubrication, and it will allow the rest of the spine feel free. After that, we will focus on a very important muscle, which is a hip flexor muscle. This muscle itself is underrated or not used as frequently as we should in exercise, and properly, that is. The most important thing is it's not properly utilized, and we're always sitting again, we're not using it, so that causes a lot of back pain. And the final one that we're going to do is the adductors. I feel that is another muscle group that we should really incorporate more often than not in a leg routine. The adductors are what's responsible for a lot of the rotation in the hip, and we tend to focus a lot of knee pain towards squats and lunges, and that's not always the case. The knee in itself is just like the core. The core is a surrounding of the whole body. The whole core is a circle as the knee. The knee is an entire circle, and what's around that? So we have muscles coming from fibers of the tibialis anterior. We have muscles coming from the back, all the soleus and the gastrocnemius, hamstrings, adductors. You got all the rectus muscles, and then you got your IT band. It's just, there's so many muscles that go around the knee that it's difficult to understand why we have knee pain. But I do think for a large portion of individuals, adductors are very underdeveloped, and there's fun ways you can activate them. If you're sitting with a friend or a partner, you can play a game where your friend places their knees in between yours, and you're sitting in a chair. For this, it's hard to do in this position. And what your friend's trying to do, your friend's trying to open your knees, and you're trying to pull your knees in. My friend's grandpa in Poland and I used to play this game a lot. This is how they would test strength. And then vice versa. You would be inside and your friend would be on the outside, and then you try to open his knees, and that's training the outside muscles, the IT bands. So it's a fun game that you can play to incorporate with your friends, or maybe if you have a grandson or something, or even a friend you can play that with. It's good. It's just like the same as when they put the med balls or the stability balls in between their legs and are doing those, so the way that they would squish it. Anywho, that's a fun one. Let's begin with the first one. I'm going to go through the progress as we go. So let's begin with the exercise. First one here is, as I was saying, for the sacrum. And from the side angle, you should see what I'm doing. I'm just trying to lift my hip bone off the ground so I can place my hand in here and then drop it. What we don't want to do while we're doing this routine is we don't want to be like leaning too much. You want to stay straight and just see if you can lift it off the ground. Instead of doing one leg at a time, we're going to play a little fun game where it's like it's a walk. So you're going to try to scooch forward with one, scooch forward with the other, scooch forward. So 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to go on 8 and then go backwards. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can go back and forth 3 times. So keep doing that. Go back and forth 3 times. If you're feeling like that's a little bit difficult, that's totally fine. What we can do here is we can lift up the kneecap, right? And we can try this by assisting. So I grab my knee and I lift at the same time. So if my leg's straight, it's tougher. But if I'm grabbing my knee, I can try doing this routine on one side. I will isolate it. So I will focus on doing 8 on one side, 8 on the other. It's really good for the obliques too, so the side of the core. And then on top of this, if you want to go to the next level, you can try to lift with both hands, but drop with one hand. So same thing on the other side. Get those done. Really good routine to do. And finito. in that next position, let's start off with the hip flexors. I do this one very often. Advanced position, you're sitting up and you're going nice and slow. If you have a yoga block, fantastic to go over from one side to the next. And you want to just tap the ground. You don't want to drop your foot. You want to tap, slowly go over, tap. And another thing that I stress is that we're not using momentum. We're literally moving at the same speed from when we touch the ground to when we go over to the next side. This can be difficult. Leaning back really helps. Going on my elbows makes it even easier. So I'm regressing from most difficult to easiest. And the very simplest version is bending your knee. Because if we keep our legs straight, as mentioned before in the other exercise, all that load is going on the hip. Yeah, just like that. So that's a good one. And then our final one that we're going to do, adductors. We see this a lot in videos, or I think you've seen your parents doing this at home during a Richard Simmons exercise. But it is fantastic. It's just so simple too. You just got to lay on your side. It doesn't matter what side you want to lay on. So you can try laying on this side, and I get a good visual of how high I want to go. If you want, you can cross over. Some say that this feels comfortable as opposed to the other side. And if we're still struggling, we can bend that knee, and that makes it a lot easier. And so those are the 3 workouts. Very simple, very straightforward. And try those in the morning. As opposed to an exercise, try those as a mobility routine. Do those in the morning. You got 3 exercises, do them 3 times. Numbers at 10 reps, whatever you feel is good. And notice that maybe, oh, my spine feels better at work, or maybe you'll start noticing that you're building strength in that area. Another challenge you can do, instead of doing these 3 in the morning, I know it's hard to wake up earlier. It's not as easy as most people think. Then why don't you instead set a timer at work or somewhere at home that, okay, I know I should do this because my hips are tight, my lower back's in pain, and I have a lot of stiffness in this area. I will put an alarm clock, put it on for every 45 minutes to an hour, and just do 1 set. Do that again throughout the day. All you need is set your timer 3 times, 1 hour each, 45 minutes each, and it's beneficial to implement little bits of exercise throughout the day as opposed to cramming everything at once, because then not only is it triggering the physical aspect, you're also activating the psychological aspect. So you're thinking more about throughout the day, and once you activate that impulse of, oh, I want to feel better and heal myself, it will increase the rate of healing. It's just proven through science that once we activate or stimulate those nerves throughout the day, as opposed to just one time, and I'm sure that one time you're doing it, you're stressing about it, you're like, oh, I don't have 45 minutes for this. It's not a pleasant thing. Don't make it unpleasant. In fact, don't even do 3 sets. If you can just do 10 repetitions of one of these exercises, you're already winning. So don't force yourself into it. See if there is a way to implement it throughout the day. And I know that most people say there never is a time where you're just like, oh, this is nice, this is fun. Yeah, there is going to be a little bit of a need to push yourself and a little bit of a drive. You are going to have to give yourself a little bit of consistency, and you're going to have to be dedicated in some sense. There has to be some of that focus, but don't overdo it. 10 seconds, like 1, 2. I'm sure that most of you are grown-ups, so you can handle that. It's not that difficult. I'm not asking for you to get into your car, to drive a 30-minute ride to the gym, spend an hour there doing my program, and then come back home. 10 seconds of your day, 30 minutes, it's a big difference, right? So try that, and then throughout the day, increase that rate at which you're doing that exercise. And I promise you, you will feel better.